Welcome to Zero Love, the podcast that dives deep into the heart of the sports world with the most fascinating people in the game. From athletes to coaches to executives to entrepreneurs, we interview the most fascinating people shaping the game. And today we have AC Baby, Alex Crum, rapper, tennis coach, tennis player, pickleball coach, but now even better, one of the best professional pickleball players in the world, coming to us with a packed schedule, really appreciative of his time after beating the two number one players in the world right now, and just talking to us about how he's gotten to this point, you know, from having to give up tennis in college to going to Germany, back to the United States, continuing to rap for fun, but not a lot coming of it until recently, where now he's got 1 million streams. I mean, just an incredible story of a person who is able to ebb and flow and just go with things and make the most of the situations in front of him. So let's get into Zero Love. Let's hear AC Baby's story. Alex Crum. I'm JY Aubone. This is Zero Love. All right. So how you doing, man?
I'm doing well, man. Been a wild 2 weeks. Culminating Saturday was the scariest day of my life, to be honest. My mother.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah, I don't mind talking about it. I think we're at a place now where I can. So my mother had pulmonary edema Saturday morning, which is basically when your lungs fill up with fluid. And I mean, she was luckily she was at the ER when everything transpired. I mean, she was probably a minute away from, not being with us anymore. So this was the morning of my, final in New York City. And so, I mean, for 2 to 3 hours, I thought my mom was going to die that day. So obviously, my world was flipped on its axis and none of this seemed relevant or important at all. Fortunately, she was intubated and has made a recovery, and she's actually being transported out of the ER today. They think they know what it is and that it's treatable with medication and that she could go on and live another 20 to 25 years. But, it was a startling, not a realization, but just kind of a profound moment where it's like, none of this matters at all. Right. So, I'm good. I'm out here in East Hampton right now. My friend is the director at the Maidstone Club, which is a wonderful club in East Hampton. Actually did an tennis exhibition there yesterday. My girlfriend works there as well. So I'm just kind of decompressing, for a day or two, and then I'll drive back to Louisville on, Wednesday morning. So yeah, it's been yeah, no kidding. I know.
Yeah, what a whirlwind, because you went out and played that same day, right?
Yeah, I did. And,
that was the day you played the finals.
Correct. And I lost. And listen, I mean, I don't mean to make excuses because Armand is that good. He could beat me today, tomorrow, the day before. But it was just difficult mentally to really be there. I mean, I was proud of the way that I fought in the second game and, put on a good show for all the people that were there. But, yeah, I certainly didn't have the same mentality that I had for a lot of the other matches prior. So, it is what it is.
Well, I wonder what your experience has been. I hear a lot how don't make excuses or anything. But look, the fact is, when you compete enough, you've been around sports long enough, whether we want to accept it or not, there are a lot of little things sometimes outside of our control that do go into either the quality of our performance or our opponent's performance.
Correct.
At least I don't know how. Are you an NFL guy by any chance?
Massive.
Okay, who's your favorite team?
Chicago Bears. Used to live in Chicago, so I mean we've stunk for 1,000 years, but I hope that's going to change this year.
Well, I'm a Dolphins fan, so I understand your pain.
You're right there in the same boat.
Yeah. But, we this in the NFL, it's like who can get to the playoffs healthy? Right? Just get into the playoffs, but then healthy at the same time. You can be the best team, but then if you have injuries late in the season, there's just nothing you can do about it, and it does matter. So,
100%.
No, man, that's impressive that you were able to go out and play, and, gosh, but just wishing you all the best. And
thank you, buddy. I appreciate it. No, I mean, listen, I talked to her yesterday. I've talked to her this morning. I've talked to her throughout the whole process, and my father has been there for the duration. So she's where she needs to be. And again, we're, we think it could be congenital. So I'm going to have to go home and get tested for that as well, which is fine. Most people would never even know that they have this condition. But for example, like Len Bias, that's what he died from, was sort of a thickening of that heart wall, which is treatable through medication and dietary things. So who knows? It could not have been passed on to me, but when I get home, I'm going to go get a cardiogram just to make sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, look, at least, I mean, silver medalist, getting to the final there. What's it been like? I mean, it must have been, that's a crazy ending leading into today and where we are. But
it is.
Even the whole kind of May and everything that's happened, especially in Atlanta, the runs there. I mean, could you have even thought any of this was possible? Or were you just out there playing for fun? I mean, I know that it's not like you were just playing pickleball for years, 5-6 days a week, hoping this would be happening, right? How did this all come about?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, like I definitely believe that this was in the range of outcomes. Like I believe in my talent on the court and believe that, I'm capable on a good day of beating anyone in the world because I had done it previously, right? Like I had beaten Chris before, like I had beaten top players and in practice and this, that, and the third. But just sort of the way that it all played out, obviously it was a dream scenario for me. And I mean, it could have gone either way, right? Pickleball, just as is in tennis, is like a point here or there. So I feel very fortunate that it sort of all set itself up for me the way that it did. But I knew that if I were able to have some big wins like this, that I would be well positioned to capitalize, so to speak, off of it for a various host of reasons. But it was a matter of going out there and actually getting the results. I knew if I got the results, then I was in a good spot to really kind of, right away into the space as a personality and a character and as a competitor and all that. But again, having it play out the way that it did, beating the 2 number ones in a 7-week span, which I doubt has ever been done before. Like, yeah, that was obviously a dream scenario.
Yeah, and been done by you, it was a possible range of outcome. But for other people that don't know you, haven't seen you play, haven't seen what you've seen yourself do on the court, almost impossible, right? Just according to rank, but that's why you play the sport, right? That you got to play. So what led you to the place where you felt like, all right, this is possible? Like, how long ago did you start practicing? When did you really start seeing, hey, I got something here,
Yeah, I mean, almost right away, right? Like the first time I think I really touched a paddle was the summer of 2023. I was teaching in a country club up in Maine called Proutsneck, which is a fantastic place, fantastic people. And there's a gentleman up there by the name of Brett Warner who is still heavily involved in the pickleball space and trying to build currently the world's biggest pickleball facility in the world out in Scottsdale. Shout out to Pure Pickleball. Anyway, he had been playing pickleball for a while and was top 50 in the world as a singles player. And I remember saying to my boss, like, I think my skill set translates. Like, I think I could be a pro pickleball player in singles. And he's like, well, you're in luck because Brett Warner is in town. And so I texted the guy right away, who's become a friend. And I said, all right, let's go out there and play. And I beat him. I think, I don't know. It's like we played 7 games. I won 4, he won 3. And then after that, I was like, all right, like there's something here. Like I'm not totally like full of shit, So after that, I mean, I started competing like immediately. Like a month later, I think I played 3 tournaments in the fall of 2023. The first one was a little bit rough. I went out there and, was super confident, but just lost in like 10 minutes. And I was like, all right, maybe I'm not the guy. But then I think my second tournament I won, it was the National Indoors in Atlantic City. And it wasn't like there weren't tons of top players in there, but I won a tournament and I beat, a guy who had been a pro for years. And then the other 2 tournaments I played, I did pretty well, beat some guys that were in the top 25 on Duper in my third tournament. And so I was like, all right, like I at least can compete at a high level against these guys. But as far as like a training regimen goes, and, I never meant to say like, oh, I've only been practicing a week to like sound like a hard ass or like that I'm that good. But there have been times, where I've played more than once a week when my teaching schedule was a little lighter or things like that. But I'm sure, as like in South Florida in March and April, specifically in the country club world, that's spring break. Like I'm in the sun from 7:30 until 6 o'clock every single day, sometimes without a day off. Like, not to complain, that's just the nature of the work, right? And so in May or March of April of this year, I was playing once a week with my buddy Andrew Malachek, who's a dentist and played college tennis at like I don't know, Case Western or something. We would go to the local park and play singles like once a week, and that was pretty much it for those 2 months. So like, now my intention before any of this happened was to lock in. I have the time, put in 3, 4, 5 hours a day. That was always the plan, and it's obviously still the plan now. So,
Yeah, so it was in your plan to at some point, like, start, all right, let's go full out.
Sure.
Got to work, got to save up financially, and then let's just go all in on it.
Right, 100%.
That's awesome, man. So, but what was your tennis career like, especially your junior career? Was there a point in time, because I've at least I'm old enough now to have seen a lot of cases now that they do make a lot more sense where kids were extremely skilled, things just didn't work out. Their environment wasn't great, but you watch them play, you're like, man, that kid could be good at something. Things just don't pan out. And in the past, they didn't really have anything after college tennis, if they even made it to college tennis.
Right.
I mean, what was your junior career like working up in tennis where, that led you to go to Dayton?
Yeah, I mean, my junior tennis career, I know some kids hate it and don't like the travel and don't like all of that, but I loved it. I mean, I grew up, I started playing in Chicago. We lived in Chicago when I was 6 to 10 or 11. Then we moved back to Louisville, where my mom is from. And so I competed out of Louisville, competed in the southern section there, which, as you know, I mean, Atlanta, South Carolina, I mean, these are tennis hotbeds. Some of your best players, American players, come from that southern region, North Carolina, all of that. So, I grew up practicing 3-4 times a week, maybe one lesson a week, practicing with my friends, playing tournaments on the weekends. I was always one of the better players in the South. But again, I wasn't in an academy. I wasn't training. I didn't have high-level coaching. I didn't, similar to kind of like pickleball in that way. I think I was very talented. I think I could have been a lot better than I was. But I was still, I think my highest ranking, I was about 75 in the country going into my senior year. And as far as Dayton goes, I really liked the coach. I really liked my teammates. They had a great entrepreneurial school. It was 4 hours from home, fun school. So that's kind of what led me there. And then, yeah, I mean, ultimately I was only able to play for a year because I lost blood flow to this bone on my right wrist called the triquetrum, which there was only one other documented case in the history of their medical records. And some guy in Indonesia dropped a barbell on his wrist. So, I mean, it was insane pain. I was taking 8 Advil a day just to be able to hit a ball. I would attribute it now probably to a heavy racket and stringing that old hyper hammer with Alu power at 62 pounds from 12 till that's what you did. Now everybody strings people stringing at 40, but I was stringing that at 62 for 6 years, and I have kind of a janky service motion that's very wristy. So that's, I was only able to play for a year, and I actually couldn't play tennis for 6 years. I didn't touch a racket for 6 years. And maybe it revascularized. Maybe it's completely dead in there. I don't know. But I've had no residual pain since I picked up a racket again in Germany, actually. So,
did you consider changing rackets or strings? Was that even on your mind? It's hard to say because now it's easier to think of that stuff. But back then, like you're saying, for example, I was using Head Prestige. I just put a lot of weight on the racket. I was stringing full Alu power 65.
Yeah,
and
that's
I played,
insane.
I got to you got to U.S. Open. Fast courts were faster and the balls were fast. But I'm just 65, and now I'm just what was I doing? I'm stringing at 47.
Yeah, same. No, I know. Yeah, it just wasn't. I don't know. It wasn't something you thought about then, right? At least for me, I didn't even attribute it to that at that point in time. With hindsight and perspective, and how racket technology and string technology has changed, I think that's probably the most logical reason. But in the moment, I was just kind of all right, And I was kind of ready to be done because I'd been in so much pain for a year and a half that I was okay, you know what I mean? I guess I need to move forward into a different realm. So
the pain started in college?
In high school.
In high school, but you just played through it?
Played through it, yeah. Played through the state championship and all of that. Didn't play as many tournaments as I would have, but just kind of was all right, I took, I think, 3 or 4 months off. And then, even in the fall there, I knew that it had felt a little bit better, but I knew that, something was still very wrong in there. So
what was that like when you first stopped? Because you only played a year there at Dayton. Did you know that you were just going to stop and that was it? You were done and you're look, I'm just not touching a racket until the pain goes away.
Yeah, it kind of felt like that. And then once I decided my college tennis career is over, I don't know. At that point in time, I was ready to move on. I was doing a lot of music then.
So that's when the rapping started.
Well, I mean, I've been rapping since I was 10, to be completely honest with you. long story, but I loved Eminem. I had a neighbor in Chicago who was a freestyler, and so I grew up rapping, freestyling at every high school party, every college party, every pep rally. Like that was kind of the thing I was known for. Like, he's a tennis player rapper. It's always been like that. Like, that's not a new thing for people that know me. Like, that's just who I am. So I really got heavy into that, and then I think that sort of became not a negative in my life, but where I was putting so much pressure on myself to like be this superstar. And so I eventually, ended up going back to school, went to Louisville, got a job. Like, just why don't we settle down, try to get your life together here, buddy? So yeah, it was easy at that time. I think as years went on, and then when I finally did pick up a racket again, I was reminded of how important it is to me is who I am as a person, racket sports. I really had that realization, even just throughout like the last 6 or 7 years, of how important it is with friendships, relationships, your mental health, physical health, all those things. Racket sports are so heavily ingrained in my structure of how I live. So it was more so of a hindsight realization, not really in the moment though.
Yeah. It's tough. Sometimes, I guess you were almost like mentally prepared when you first stopped, right? Because you've been paying for so long,
right?
That you're kind of like, you're almost like, you're happy that you're just not in pain anymore and having to deal with it. But so then, how'd you get to Germany? What led you to go to Germany?
Well, this is actually a crazy story, and I told my current girlfriend, beforehand that I was going to need to touch on this, but no, it's all good. Anyway, so I met a German policewoman in Punta Cana on vacation, like 2018, 19. Anyway, we started dating. We traveled the world for like 3 years. It was incredible. She's still a good friend of mine. But then ultimately it was like, she's a policewoman. That's a great job in Germany. Like, she was never going to move to the United States. And I like was in it enough to say, all right, heck with it. I'll move to Germany. We'll give it a shot. So I moved over there, and in Germany, it's very bureaucratic. Like, you can't just, even if you have a good business degree, like you can't just waltz over there and get a job. So basically the general rule is that like, if you can do something that not every German can do, you'll have a better chance of getting a work visa. And obviously not every German can teach tennis. So there was a little red clay court club right across the street in Unna, Germany, called Grünweiss. And so I went over there. I met this Argentinian guy who he couldn't speak English or German, but we sort of communicated like this. And even with the kids, I was like, everything was hands. And I started teaching over there at that club for about 4 or 5 months. Ultimately, the relationship wasn't going to work anyway. So when I moved back home in 2019, that's kind of when I decided, all right, I'm going to teach tennis. I really liked it. I like, meeting people, and I enjoyed doing it over there. And it was much easier for me to do when I was able to speak my own language. So I kind of started, as soon as I moved home, I started teaching right away.
Were you teaching with the hammer strung at 65?
Oh, back then, yeah, I had the Pro Staff, not the N code, but like the newer model of it, and it was still strung at 65, baby.
Yeah, but no pain teaching.
What?
No pain teaching at that point.
No. Right when I picked up a racket again, there was nothing there, and there hasn't been since, which is wild, but fortunate.
Did you pick up any German or Spanish?
Ein bisschen Deutsch.
Okay.
I can understand like a decent amount, and when I was over there, like I got pretty good at it. But the problem is that everyone over there speaks English, so it's like, at least where I was, and all my friends were younger, so they grew up speaking English, so their English was always better than my German anyway. So it was like, Also, I was like, listen, I moved to your dumb country. You can speak my language. I'm making the bigger sacrifice than you here, sister.
Yeah, well, and at least, so I'm in Fort Lauderdale right now. You go to Miami, there's a lot of people that have said, I'm not learning English. And that's how Miami has transformed to, you walk into a lot of restaurants, and look, I don't look Latino. I speak Spanish. They're just going to talk to me straight up in Spanish from right away walking in. I'm like, am I in America?
Yeah.
So I think it's okay that one of us went over somewhere and said, hey, you can speak some English.
Yeah, exactly. No, but I mean, I would have liked to, like, in the future, I would definitely like to like learn German, because I already have like the general understanding of the grammar and all that. And I think, in almost all parts of the world, everyone speaks multiple languages, and I think it's super cool. And in America, we're just like, nah. So, I think being bilingual, obviously, in life is like very beneficial for a multitude of reasons.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think speaking multiple languages, and if you can travel and see the world, I think that's There's just something to it. It just, because at the end of the day, look, you have work, you have money and stuff, but at the end of the day, if you don't have connections with other people and cultures, it's kind of, I think it's hard to live like a happy life.
100%.
So, we're a community-based species. We need other people. Whether you want a lot or a little, you need something.
Right.
But if you can't really relate to other people, and language is one of the best things to do it.
100%. Couldn't agree more, brother.
Yeah. So when you came back, how long were you teaching before you started playing some pickleball?
Many, many years. So I started teaching at my local indoor club. That's sort of where I started out, where I grew up playing. And that was more like high performance based teaching. So like all the best juniors from the city would come in, and I'd try to build lots of relationships with them. And a lot of those kids are still like great friends to this day. But then pretty quickly I got inserted into the country club scene, which was kind of random how it all happened. But a buddy of mine had been down in Jupiter Island in Florida, and he had just taken another job in Vero Beach. So he was not going to be able to do the spring break rush. And so he was scrambling to find someone because like when we've got lessons booked, like already on the book, you better find someone else, or else like you know what I mean? It's just going to be bad for him. Yeah. And he tells this story all the time. My friend Tyler, he saw me do like a kids lesson with a group of like 6 girls. And I was like, okay, if you guys behave today, I'll buy all of you Powerades, just because I wanted them to like me. Like I was just getting into it. And so he said he saw me at the vending machine spending like $14.50 on 7 Powerades. And he was like, this is the guy. And so he inquired about me going down to Jupiter Island. I had no idea what to expect, had never taught at a country club, obviously. I mean, I've been around country clubs here and there, but I went down in March of 2020, which was COVID year, basically not knowing anything about the space or what I was getting myself into. I remember I bought like $700 of all white apparel and started there in 2020, spent a month down there and did well enough to where they asked for me back in the next season at wintertime. So that's kind of how I started. And I've been at Jupiter Island for, I guess, almost 6 years now. And then a lot of other places in the summer, but Jupiter Island it's a winter club, right? So the season is, I think, November 1st through May 15th, and then everybody leaves and goes north to various places. So I kind of got into the country club world almost immediately.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you ever seek any, or do you have any experiences like working like directly in high performance? Because the interesting part to me is actually learning that it is actually 2 separate worlds.
Completely.
I thought it was great for me to learn. When I first stopped playing tennis, my first real job was at a country club. And you'd hear about it, oh, it's a country club, it's different. But to experience it actually was one of the best things for me I ever, from the tennis side of things, because it was the first time I saw people just playing tennis and enjoying it and having fun
right?
For fun, without any desire to compete. They could go hit, run around. I'm like, oh my God, like people can do this? I've been so like obsessed with winning and getting better. Yeah. I didn't know that there was another, but they would play 5-6 days a week.
100%. I know a million of these people. Never compete, nothing on record.
Yeah. Did you experience both sides of it, or did you go more in a country club pretty quick?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up on the competitive side of it, right? So I had a healthy perspective. But it's funny that you say this, because like I would talk to, after I had been doing it for a couple of years, we would have these college kids come in, and a lot of them were Russian or, from Croatia, and they grew up, high performance tennis. We're out here to get better. And obviously in Europe, the coaching and especially like in Russia, like it's a lot more demanding than even the coaches here. And so I would tell them, because they would get so frustrated with these kids who just could care less. And I said, guys, listen, I said, you're going to need to accept that a lot of people have goals outside of being the best tennis player they can be. And it's your job to facilitate whatever that is. If someone wants to work on a coil forehand, we'll do that for an hour. If someone wants to laugh and get a workout in, we'll do that for an hour. I don't care. I'm getting paid to provide a service one way or the other. But I think when you grow up in that competitive environment, you're out there and you're like, why don't you care that you just got beat 0-0 in the round robin? Like, what the hell? You know what I mean? Whereas I pretty early on was like, if you want cheesecake, we'll eat cheesecake. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. So, but I've had lots of conversations with, really good Division I college players who are getting into teaching. It's like, you got to let that go, because otherwise you're going to drive yourself crazy.
Oh, yeah. I drove myself crazy with the stupid frying pancake serve grip. I'm like, you're coming out here 3 days a week. It's been 2 years. Like, what do you want me to tell you? You're not going to change. Yeah. And then it actually wasn't until I stepped away from it. And I just looked back and was able to reflect. I was too obsessed with it getting better.
No, I get it.
Yeah. So throughout all of this, like, were you rapping as well? Like, going to Germany, coming back, how much time did you have to do all that stuff?
Yeah, here and there, right? Like, rapping has always been kind of a healthy hobby for me. So, like, if someone wanted me to rap at their wedding, I'd write something for that. If someone wanted me to rap at a birthday party, I'd do that. But I wasn't, like, actively recording very frequently. Finally, about 2 years ago, I said, you know what? Like, I was down in Florida. I got in kind of a groove writing to where, like, I was doing it consistently. And I was like, I need to, like, at least put out one album that I put a lot of work into. That's on Apple Music and Spotify. I mean, the music industry has changed so much in the last 5 to 7 years. I have a lot of friends in the industry, and it's crazy the way that it's changed, and probably a lot for the worse. But I just wanted to have one album out that I was proud of, which I do, and it's out. And it's got 1 million streams on Apple Music, and I think it's an easy, fun listen. So I was always kind of doing it, but never full time. But to be frank with you now, now that I have a little bit more of a platform, I plan on writing and recording an EP this summer anyway, before all of this happened, just because I like doing it. Obviously, I'm not stupid. I know that I have more of an audience. So yeah, now I'm going to be like, all right, well, why don't you really hone in on this as well? Why not give this a real shot too, simultaneously with pickleball? So
yeah, well, and look, I don't say this just because we're on here, but I was listening to some of the music. I'm like, dude, this guy's a rapper. I got to listen to some of this stuff, and that's where I'm like, this guy has to have liked some Eminem or something. Because I loved it because I was a big Eminem fan growing up. I mean, how could you not? Because how old are you? I think we're close to the same
33.
age. 33. So I'm 37. So we're yeah. It's once you hit over 26, it's all kind of the same.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So that's where I was like, no, it's great stuff. And now with the ease of being able to put music on there, because there's no way you could have done this 20 years ago, 100%. Right? The effort and cost.
Right. It's so easy. Yeah, I know. I mean, there's pros and cons of the music industry now. I think the biggest thing is that, there's equal opportunity right now in the music world, which I think is a wonderful thing. But it's not just about the music now. You're also now forced to be a content creator, forced to be a brand deal person. Whereas beforehand, you could be talented. Some exec meets you on the side of the road in Nashville. And then next thing you know, you're touring the country, your song's on the radio, all that. So, for better or for worse, you now have to be very meticulous with your marketing strategy and how you're releasing content and how you're previewing songs and all of that, which I think can be a headache for a lot of artists. But there's equal opportunity, right? So that's a good thing.
Just, ease of access, but then there's it's almost like the podcast world. There's almost so many now. Sure. It's just gosh, I don't have time to listen to another one. So how are you going to get out there and do it?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So, but were you promoting your own music? How are you getting it out to other people?
Yeah, I mean, just people that know me. Everyone, I know a lot of people, and they all at some point heard me rap or listened to a song and this, that, and the third. So I didn't spend a lot of money to promote it via you can pay playlisters and all this shit. I didn't do that. I just wanted all my friends, all the people that I had met through up into that point of time and felt connected to me through music. I wanted them to hear a cohesive project and like it. And I accomplished that. So that was really my main goal, to make all the people who are AC, you're an awesome musician. I just wanted to make them proud. And I think I did that. So that was really my only goal. I didn't really plan on trying to blow it up like that. Although if it happens, great. Sure.
Well, I think we've seen now with just the way your life has gone, how much you just have to be willing to go with the flow of things. And sometimes an opportunity presents itself and you just take it. I mean, could you have imagined that you'd be here where you are 10 years ago or even longer, right? Randomly a trip to Germany. Now you're back. Now you're teaching at a country club. And now you put out a rap album. Sure, you were rapping, but now the ease to put it out, but now you've hit this stardom with pickleball, beating #1 players in the world. I mean, I'm sure when you first started playing pickleball, that wasn't on your radar. Now, geez, maybe I got to really go all in even more on this stuff than I thought. I mean, this is fun. So I feel that's so much of what life is about. You can't over-plan.
No, and when you do, that's when things go awry, right? I mean, I think that you get opportunities in life. They can be very fleeting, and if you're like waiting for this moment to like start, I think when things happen, you have to embrace them, you have to lean into them, and you have to go all in, so to speak. So that's kind of what I'm doing now. I mean, that's one thing that I think I have an advantage in, is the sense that like I like doing podcasts. I like doing commentary. Like we had the exhibition at Maidstone the other day, which is a very nice grass court country club. And they were like, can you get on the microphone and like MC the doubles match? And I was like, yeah, like of course, like I enjoy doing that. And there was a group of probably 200 people there. And I had about 50 of them like in tears, like just in tears, and people who probably don't laugh that often, to be honest with you. And it was fun. Like I enjoy doing that stuff. Whereas a lot of people like hate being on camera, hate talking. Like it's harder for them to like be articulate and things like that. That's one of the things I'm good at. I'm not good at very many things. I say this all the time, but there is a small select group of things that I'm good at, and I love doing those things. So
yeah. This stands out. You said you love commentary, so we'll see if the editing team decides to keep this part in there. So, I mean, have you heard much about like the Intense Tennis League?
So I've been filled in just briefly, but I would love. I know you got something cool going on.
Well, we have a whole new tennis league, but the reason why I bring it up is more so because we're gonna have a lot of matches and we're gonna need commentary.
Say less.
So you got to send me your tournament schedule, then we got to see what we can work around. Well, after this call,
I'd love to, man. Live tennis is the best sport in the world. I don't love. I'll be honest with you, like I would much prefer to watch like NFL or college basketball or Bundesliga than sit down and watch tennis on TV. But I always say this, in person, tennis is the best sport in the world to watch. Like when you can actually see how fast and the ball striking and the timing and all that, like there's truly nothing more impressive.
Yeah. Well, I think I don't want to get too off track, but there's two different experiences, and you can relate this to any sport. There's the in-person experience of the sport, and then there's the streaming experience of the sport. Some sports are better in person. I mean, a lot of sports are better in person, but some are also like really good on TV, and they're better than others. So, I think that's the thing with tennis. So I think the in-person experience is one thing, but the viewing experience to me right now, like it's actually kind of boring.
Yeah, 100%.
Right? Because if you're watching this great point, 25 seconds in between the point, they go to the towel, it just doesn't seem as long, especially if they have decent rallies. But if you have multiple 20, 25 second without like anything that is legitimately happening in the rallies in tennis right now, and you're just streaming it on your phone or computer, like you're going to quickly just move to something else because you can quickly move and then move back, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, and then you're by yourself, whereas usually if you're going to a sport in person, you're probably there with somebody. You can chat them up really quick, and so you can get distracted with other stuff. But if not, if you're by yourself, be like, all right, I'm going to move on to this other sport or this other court or whatever, and you might not come back.
Right.
And that's where I think the streaming experience in tennis is not as good as in person.
100%. And like how many times do you like, all right, I'm going to go meet up with my buddies to watch like Tsitsipas Cerundolo. Like, you know what I mean? Like we need some of that. Now, all my friends love gambling on tennis. That's a whole different story. But, they're sitting there streaming like UTR matches in Newport Beach on their phone. Like they're doing it. They're degenerate betting in that case. But like, I think that is one realm where tennis can really get better.
Yeah. Well, we got to see if you can come in there and make it fun too. Because I think the commentary as well, like we need people who are willing to just be honest and be themselves.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of people commentating, and I hear them commentating, and I know them as well off the court, and I'm like, man, that's not you.
Two separate
like,
people, 100%.
Yeah, it's like be yourself. Just, you want to say something stupid, be goofy or whatever, be real. People relate to real. I mean, I think that's one of the things I messaged you about this morning, like when you're like, I got no problem being real. Because people relate to real. They might not like it,
right?
But they'll respect it. And that's probably more important to create a good connection.
100%.
So, what's your schedule like moving forward now that you've had all of this with pickleball? Because I saw you even in an article that you wrote a week ago, you still called yourself a tennis coach. So a lot of people, once they start having some of this, they're just a pickleball player. So where do you see yourself going right now? I know you're trying to play full-on pro. You're still going to teach some tennis. What's coming up?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm here today. Like, I'm recording my own pod after this, and then my little brother's interviewing me for a big Louisville magazine. Got a nice dinner at the American Hotel tonight. I'll spend one more day in East Hampton tomorrow with my girlfriend, and then I'll drive back to Kentucky um, on Wednesday. And yeah, I mean, from there, we have not officially signed a contract with the PPA Tour. That is my intention. I think the deal will get done hopefully sooner rather than later. So my next PPA tournament will be in San Clemente in mid-June. And then there's kind of a break because there's a lot of Major League Pickleball stuff going on. There's kind of a break until beginning of August. So I would kind of have, end of June through August free. I don't want to put myself in a box, right? Like I am 100% committed to putting in long hours on the pickleball court every single day, no matter where I am. But I mean, I'm planning to come back up here and spend 2.5, 3 weeks teaching grass court tennis and training simultaneously. You know what I mean? I know some people with houses out here and things like that. So like in a perfect world for me, like I want pickleball to be the main thing, keep the main thing, being a professional athlete, treating it like it's a job, because I haven't treated it like it's a job up to this point because it hasn't been. It's the reality. So I want to treat pickleball like it's my full-time job, but then I want to put out an album. I want to continue to teach. I want to continue to do podcasts. I want to do all these things. Why not? You know what I mean?
Well, you only have so much time in the day that you can train anyway, right? You're not going to train 7 hours, right?
No, exactly. I train in the morning, maybe play practice games in the afternoon. I can fit everything in, and I'm happiest when I'm being productive. I'm happiest when I'm using my skill set intently, so to speak. So I'm really looking forward to this. Like I feel like finally at 33 I'm like, all right, like I'm in a place now where I can do the things I love potentially as a career, like all of them in one. So that's sort of my plan.
And what was that? I read that article where like you have to sign a contract. Is it with the PPA Tour?
Correct.
If you're going to play on the PPA Tour once you get above a certain ranking?
Correct.
So, but contract what? With the team or with the league? So
yeah, no, it's just, I mean, listen, the PPA Tour is the NFL of pickleball. It just is. The events are more grandiose, and by and large, the best players on the world are on that tour. The stage is grander. So for me, I always wanted to sign with the PPA Tour. And basically, once I sign with PPA Tour, it's an exclusive deal, right? I can't play on any of the other tours, which is fine with me. I mean, coming into the summer, my goal was to sign one of these contracts. So I don't exactly know what it looks like yet. There will be a certain number of events and different things that I've got to do, but I'm happy to do all of those things. And yeah, I mean, I just am looking forward to like playing a full tournament schedule week in and week out on the PPA Tour, because I've never had an opportunity to do that. For me, it was always like a tournament every 2 months, and then you have no competitive rhythm, and then you're putting so much pressure on yourself to do well in your one tournament. These guys are playing tournaments every week. They have a bad week, so what? And I've never been able to like think of it that way. I've always had to put so much pressure on myself. Like, all right, you're playing Federico. Like, you better not go out there and suck. You're capable. Thankfully, I didn't suck. So like I finally did what I needed to do. And now it's like, all right, now I have the opportunity to treat it like the rest of these guys do.
Yeah, but maybe you thrive better under pressure. Look what you did, right? Beating 2 number ones in the world. I mean,
I
maybe
definitely think I thrive better under pressure, but like I got a bit lucky in that regard. Like I think I could be either of them again, like 100%. Like it's not a skill gap thing, but it's just like doing it. You get one shot to do it, right? Like I wasn't going to play another PPA until like September. So I'm like, this is your one shot, buddy. Like, and so there was definitely infinitely more pressure on me in that match that I put on myself than there will be going forward.
Yeah, it's interesting how, because I wonder if you've experienced this in your coaching, but like that mentality to like, I have to take advantage of this opportunity. This is like, I don't know if I'm going to get this for a long time, and then I have to wait. Some people like you thrive incredibly well under that, and it actually puts them into a place where they really lock in better than ever. And yes, in a way, like you can say you're putting pressure on yourself, but you don't feel it like that. It's just more sense of urgency. But then there's other people that if they were to talk to themselves that way, they just absolutely crumble under the pressure. They need to relax. They need to, no, this is just another game. It's another match. It's like no big deal if you lose. It's very interesting. I found, I think for anyone who's listening to this, it's like, I love that it worked for you. I wish it worked more for people like that, but it just doesn't. There's people that cannot operate under that type of mentality, and that's what you were talking to, just having a set schedule where I know I can play, train, plan, and if I miss an opportunity, that's fine. I can come back.
Right. Yeah, I mean, what I think of is back to Novak's interview he did not too long ago when they were like, the guy was like, like, it's so amazing how you just don't let any of these things phase you and you like never get negative. You don't have negative thoughts. He's like, yes, I do. He's like, of course I do. I have the same thoughts, the same doubts, the same things that everybody else does. I've just been able to, and it's painful out there, when you're out there by yourself in a big match. It can be brutal mentally. But yeah, I think not shying away from the reality. Like before the match, I'm like, this is your chance. Like I couldn't trick myself into believing that it was just another match, because the reality is it wasn't just another match for somebody like me.
Yeah, I think it's better to just face it. Talk
100%.
about it. But then also tell yourself, but if I lose, my life's still okay.
Yeah, I would have been fine. I would have, kind of been doing the same thing I'm doing now, but still waiting for that next chance was how I would have been saying it, framing it for myself.
It's funny you mentioned Novak. I literally thought about this after Rafa's ceremony yesterday, because I thought he had mentioned that how when Rafa and Fed retired, like a piece of him retired too, and he just didn't quite know what his motivation was.
Sure.
And so for him to win the Olympics, I was just like, that's probably the last shot he's ever got. And and it's the one thing that was missing. And he's playing, and at that moment, compared to the last 10 years, he was probably playing some of the worst tennis, right?
Yeah.
Experiencing the least amount of success, all the doubt in the world. For him to rise up, you want to talk about like facing the reality of something. I'm sure he knew, I think he said he probably wants to try to play at least one more Olympics. I don't know if he will or won't.
We'll see
if that's
about
true.
that. I kind of doubt it now, but you never know with him.
That was insane what he did. Love 100%. Him or hate him, watching a performer under pressure, absolutely one of the greatest things I've ever seen in any sport.
Totally agree.
You talk about inspiring. I think what's so cool is just for a lot of, especially the younger listeners to listen to, we talk about having a plan. There's so many people like, what do you want to be when you grow up? Like, what are you going to do? What's going to be your job after college? And they don't get a great job after college, making a lot of money, and like they start to freak out. Like, what's so cool is just to see you ebb and flow through the last, 15 years. Like, sure, you had tennis the whole time, didn't quite work out. Randomly ended up in Germany, came right back. Started teaching at a country club. You were rapping the whole time, but nothing came of it back then. But now you have something, you got 1 million streams on there. Now you got Netflix coming to your house. Now you're beating. Now a sport came about that wasn't on your radar 20 years ago.
100%.
That's okay. Just ebb and flow. Just go with it. You work hard. You're a good person. Something's good. Something good's going to come somewhere, And that's like when I listen to your story, like that's what I take the most out of it. It's just your ability to just flow with it and just take it.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I think that's very well said. And I would just say, part of the reason that I've been well-positioned to sort of like have all these opportunities to do podcasts and all of that is just because of the relationships that I've built over the last 10 to 15 years, like never with the intention of like using them in any sort of way. But like, if you are kind and respectful and you're curious and you're interested and you care about people, doesn't matter if they're worth $3 billion or 10 cents, like down the line, if you're doing well, or if you need help in some capacity, they're going to be willing to do it. Like if you walk around like a dickhead, no one's going to want to work with you. No one's going to care if you're successful, any of that. And so, I could name 1,000 examples in my own life, but it's just like, you'll never know when that person that you bought a cup of coffee from might have been the CFO of Hilton. You just don't know those things, right? So like, if you go into it, your relationship with people is just like, I'm going to be the best in this as I can be, it will end up helping you in the future. That would be something I would say.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Well, look, man, I appreciate you taking your time.
No, brother, thank you.
Your plate's getting full very fast, so thank you.
It's good for me.
Yeah, good, man. Well, look, we'll be following. We'll stay in touch. I'm going to give you a call about the commentary. Yeah, awesome stuff, man.
All right, brother. Thanks so much for having me, buddy. You have a great rest of your day. Watch some French.
Yeah, thanks. You too.
All right, brother.
See ya.